YouTube, what is going on in the sports culture? And today I have an NFL draft steals video. I did make another one a couple weeks back, so I will link that above me right now. Go watch part one if you want to. But this video, long overdue. I was going to make this maybe a week and a half ago, but my PC started messing up. How to get that fixed, all that good thing. So it is back. My PC's working. This video is dropping. And let's just get right into it, man. It's going to be draft steals. I have about 9 to 10 guys on this list. I'm going to keep this video awfully short, so let's get right into it. Alright, so the first player on this list is Matt Lee, the center out of Miami, to the 7th round to the Cincinnati Bengals, or former center from Miami. I am a huge Matt Lee fan. I actually thought he was one of the more underrated players in this year's draft class. I thought this was someone who deserved to be drafted inside the 5th through 6th round. Got drafted in the 7th round. And I think this is a guy, I'm not just saying this because he's on this list, but I think this is a guy who could honestly, down the line, could probably be a starting center for an NFL team, maybe for the Bengals. I think he's that good. I think he's that underrated. Has a very good, explosive ability out of his stance for a center. Very, very good in blocking in a phone booth. Not so good moving side to side maybe, but very good in blocking in a phone booth. Plays with solid leverage. Has a fairly good stance when he shoots off. So there's a lot to like about Matt Lee. Getting him in the 7th round, someone I think could, potentially, if developed right, could be a starting center. I think this is a very, very good pickup for the Cincinnati Bengals. And this is considered a draft steal, especially because I do think this guy, has potential to maybe be a starting center one day in the NFL. Or if not, just be a very solid average one that could come in, as a backup, and play some valuable snaps if the starting center is hurt. But I think, this guy has the potential to be a starting center at least one point or one time in his career. Now, the next player on this list is Chris Abrams-Draine, the cornerback out of Missouri, or should I say now the cornerback for the Denver Broncos, selected in the 5th round. And I think this guy was one of the better slot or nickel cornerbacks. I think at Missouri he played a lot more outside cornerback. But at the next level, he's definitely going to be bumped inside just because, dropped the mic, y'all. Just because of his size, his weight, and all that. I'm a huge Chris Abrams-Draine fan. But I think he's more labeled as a boom or bust player just because of his play style. Super, super aggressive. He's a playmaker, man. Reminds me a lot like Deron Bland, the cornerback for the Cowboys, just a smaller version. Super, super aggressive though, has a very fun play style for a cornerback. I loved watching the film on him, but because of his play style, would get beat a lot, especially on double routes. Not because he double routes, not because he couldn't read them, but just simply because he liked to sit on it for too long, made the quarterback throw it, and just didn't have the speed to recover. But like I said, very, very aggressive play style. Needs to probably work on tackling. But outside of that, man, I think this guy's going to be very solid. Could be the day one starter at the slot cornerback position for the Denver Broncos. And could be a guy that generates a lot of interceptions, a lot of turnovers for that defense. Huge, huge, huge Chris Abrams-Draine fan. I think they got a steal. I think this is someone, like I said, that could be the starter, could contribute right off the bat. Or contribute, right off the bat, contribute right off the bat to this team. But yeah, like I said, boom or bust player because of his play style. But man, I think he's going to be very solid in the NFL. We just have to see, what he does. But I'm a huge Chris Abrams-Draine fan, and I think this was a steal for the Denver Broncos. Next guy on this list is Tyron Tracy Jr. for the running back for the New York Giants now out of the 6th round. And I think this was such a good pickup for the Giants because I think they needed another running back for sure. Devin Singletary, I think he's a very solid running back, probably going to be the RB1 for the first couple weeks. I think Tyron Tracy Jr. is a guy that could come in there and take the starting job. Not saying that Devin Singletary isn't good because I thought he was very good for the Texans last year, and I thought the Texans should have kept him. But I just think Tyron Tracy Jr. what he brings as a running back in terms of the receiving aspect, and then what he shows on film, I think he's very patient. Has solid vision. But his ability to make jump cuts, get outside, just be a playmaker in general with the ball in his hands, I think that's why he's probably going to be the RB1 for this New York Giants team a couple weeks down the line in the regular season. Like I said, brings a different type of receiving aspect out in the backfield that no one in the Giants, running back room has. Tyron Tracy Jr. used to be a wide receiver converted to running back, and so that's why he's so good at running routes out the backfield for running back. Super, super clean, super elite. And one thing I will also say about Tyron Tracy Jr., even if he's not the starting running back, even if he's not even the second string starting running back, this is someone who's probably going to be the special teamer, returning kicks, returning punts maybe, Super dynamic with the ball in his hands, super explosive, just a playmaker. Maybe he doesn't have the greatest top-end speed, but once he sees that hole, man, he gets going pretty fast. a little bit of an older prospect as well. He's 24 years old, but I don't think the Giants necessarily really care. This team is not necessarily, I mean, in my opinion, they're rebuilding, but I don't think they're looking at age for prospects like that. And the running back position, I mean, you can move on from guys 3 years from now. So by the time, Tyron Tracy Jr., 3 to 4 years down the line, is going to be 27, 28. So not a bad age for a running back. But yeah, Tyron Tracy Jr., I'm a huge fan. I think this is someone who could maybe be the starting running back for this New York Giants team, a couple weeks down the line in the regular season. I think Devin Singletary is a very solid running back, but I just think what Tyron Tracy Jr. brings in terms of a playmaker with the ball in his hands, his patience, his vision, his ability to make jump cuts and get outside, his ability as a receiving back, I just think he's going to be the starter for this team. Needs to work on pass protection a little bit more, but I think he's very good at reading, where the free blitzers coming from, where he needs to be. Just isn't the greatest at necessarily pass blocking. So needs to work on that, but outside of that, I think he's a very solid running back and could be, the RB1 for this team down the line. Now the next guy on this list is Kaylin King, the cornerback out of Penn State. And I think this was the biggest steal of this year's draft class. I'm not just saying that because he's on the Packers and I'm a Packers fan. I generally thought Kaylin King was worth drafting inside the first 5 to 6 rounds. I thought he was more borderline 6th round if anything, but I definitely thought, a team would have drafted him still in the 5th round, 6th round. But to see him fall to the 7th round, almost be a couple picks from Mr. Irrelevant, is pretty crazy to me. This guy a year ago was one of the best cornerbacks in college football. Not just a really good cornerback, one of the most premier cornerbacks in college football. He's going to be a very solid nickel cornerback, very solid slot cornerback in the NFL. Kaylin King has a dog mentality, man. In 2022, because last year, 2023. In 2022, man, was one of the best man coverage cornerbacks in all of college football. Actually, I think he had the highest man-to-man coverage grade by PFF for cornerbacks in college football that year. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think it was the highest or one of the highest for sure. But like I said, his draft stock fell because he got torched by Marvin Harrison Jr. But at the end of the day, Marvin Harrison Jr., generational player, obviously in 2023 didn't have the greatest of showings as well. But I think it was more of a confidence thing. And all the Packers have to do, man, is just get this guy back in his groove, get his confidence going. Because the cornerback position, man, yes, it is about talent. Yes, it is about instincts. But at the end of the day, man, it's about confidence, man. And I don't think Kaylin King, his head was in the greatest of spots last year. Especially with him knowing he wasn't playing that well on his draft stock falling. Then you get to the Senior Bowl after the season's over, the college season's over. Definitely didn't have the greatest showings at the Senior Bowl. He was getting torched. Then you get to the Combine, didn't have the greatest showing at the Combines. But like I said, I think Kaylin King going to be a very solid slot cornerback in the NFL. Could be, who knows? I know the Packers, as a Packers fan, drafted a lot of guys and have a lot of guys that can compete in that slot cornerback position. I think Javon Bullard or Keyshawn Nixon are probably going to be the starters there, but who knows, man? I mean, we don't know what we have with Kaylin King until we get to the preseason, until we start seeing him in live snaps. And who knows, Kaylin King could probably even be the starting slot cornerback for this Packers team down the line. So for that reason, I think it's one of the biggest steals. And just because what this guy was doing in 2022, like I said, was one of the best cornerbacks in college football. And it's all about a confidence thing, and the Packers just have to get this guy's groove going and his mind right. Now the next steal, or the next guy on this list, is Jayden Hicks, the safety out of Washington, selected in the 4th round by the Kansas City Chiefs, man. And I don't know how we allow this to happen, man. The Chiefs, definitely needed somebody else in that secondary at the safety position. And they got one of the better safeties in this year's draft class, Jayden Hicks. I had him actually as my 6th ranked safety in this year's draft class. I think he's was one of the better box safeties in this year's draft class as well. But Jayden Hicks, man, is just a dog. I think he's a very good playmaker. Very, very instinctive safety. Has the ability to go sideline to sideline. Very, very physical. Has the frame and height and the measurements you want from a strong safety or even a free safety. It just depends how the Chiefs want to use him. I think, he's very versatile. Maybe he doesn't have the top-end speed you're looking for from a safety, but he's very fluid in his movements. He has the ability, like I said, to go sideline to sideline. And with this frame, with this, height and his measurements, he has the ability to make plays, go out there and dive, make good pass breakups, and just close distance very well. Huge fan of Jayden Hicks. Maybe wasn't the biggest fan of him, but I think this is a phenomenal pick, so I'm a huge fan of this selection. and where he's going. I think he's going to a team and a defense and going with the defensive coordinator that's going to use his abilities very well. Like I said, one of the better box safeties in this year's draft class, but I think this is someone who could honestly play single high, be your back end safety back there. Like I said, doesn't have the greatest of speed you want from a safety, maybe, but he's very instinctive. He's very good at reading route concepts, very good at, jumping routes, going sideline to sideline, has very solid hands for a safety. And I just think, the Chiefs really got a good player. I think he needed a defensive scheme like KC's to, really get the best at his abilities. And he's going to go to a team that's going to utilize him very well. He's going to go to a team that's going to be in the playoff hunt. And I just like this pick for Jayden Hicks and for the Chiefs, man. I think this is one of the better safeties in this year's draft class. And we let the Chiefs get an absolute dog. Next guy on this list is Christian Jones, the tackle out of Texas, selected in the 5th round by the Arizona Cardinals. And I should have got him a better picture right here. Definitely a little blurry right here. But I thought Christian Jones was actually a very, very solid tackle. I thought he was actually one of the better pass blocking tackles in this year's draft class. There is maybe not the greatest at shooting out of his stance on a play-to-play basis. I think he's very athletic, but maybe not super athletic. I think his measurements are okay for a tackle. But I think the Cardinals actually got a guy who could maybe be the starting tackle for this team down the line. Huge Christian Jones fan. I think there's a lot of good tape on him, a lot of good film on him. He went against a lot of good pass rushers, a lot of solid ones, and he held his own. Like I said, I thought he was one of the better pass blocker tackles in this year's draft class. Maybe needs to work a little bit more in run blocking in terms of his run blocking aspect, but outside of that, man, I think this was a very good pickup for the Cardinals, man. They needed some more guys on the O-line. They needed some more guys on the trenches. And Christian Jones has that dog mentality for a tackle. He has that, the war of all wars mentality you want from a tackle. And I think he's going to be very solid for this team, man. Getting him in the 5th round, a guy who I think could maybe be the starter. Very, very good pickup for the Cardinals, and that's considered a steal. Next guy on this list is Austin Booker, the edge rusher out of Kansas. I thought this guy was very, very good. I thought he was very, I wouldn't say very productive, but productive enough at the college level. But I just like his bend and his athleticism once he gets around the edge. Has very solid hand usage. Maybe not the greatest at countering once he gets beat outside. But I think he has very good raw power. Has the ability to put his arm into an offensive lineman. And, at times counter back inside. But I think he has to work out, getting back inside a little bit more at the next level. You could say he's light for an edge rusher, but I like his size. I like his measurements. I think this is a guy who could be a really good third down specialist for the Bears. I think this is a guy who could honestly line up and be the other edge on the other side of Montez Sweat. Who knows, man? Could honestly do a lot of things for this defensive line, for this defensive team, for the Bears. But I like him as a third down specialist, a guy that gets out of the quarterback on third down. Needs to work a little bit more on stopping the run. There is times I'd see him on film where overshoot gaps, didn't hold the edge right, or simply just got pushed back by offensive linemen. But outside of that, man, in terms of pass rushing, I thought he was a very solid pass rusher. I liked his hand usage. I liked his ability to bend the corner, get athletic, use his length. And, I think this was a very good pickup for the Bears in the 5th round. This is someone who, like I said, could maybe be the starter on the other side of Montez Sweat. They definitely needed another pass rusher for this team. And I thought Austin Booker was one of the more underrated pass rushers in this year's draft class. And they got him in the 5th round, man. So very, very good pickup for the Bears, man. And that defense is actually really, really stacked, really, really loaded. And it's going to be very interesting to watch this Bears team next year, man. If they could pick up, where they left off defensively from last year at the end of last year. And then Caleb Williams could lead this offense to at least a top 15 scoring offense. I think this team's going to actually make the playoffs. So a very good pickup for the Bears. And the last guy on this list is Mason McCormack, the guard out of South Dakota State. And to me, his biggest knock is that he went to South Dakota State. Maybe not the most athletic guy in terms of going, moving left to right. But very, very dominant a puller, very dominant, run blocker. Really, really good pass blocker in a phone booth. Like I said, I think he needs to work on moving left and right, especially against faster, bigger, more physical, defensive linemen at the NFL level. He needs to work on that. But outside of that, man, I loved his film. I was actually watching film on Isaiah Davis. Yeah, I think it's Isaiah Davis, the running back for South Dakota State, during the draft process. And I was blown away by Mason McCormack more than anything. I mean, the holes this guy was able to create. I mean, you could fit a Ford F-250 through that thing fully lifted. So, just a very, very dominant player. Yes, he played at South Dakota State, which doesn't, play against the best competition on a week-to-week basis. But outside of that, man, I mean, when you just turn on the film, very, very dominant. And that's what you want to see from a player, playing against a slower competition or just lower divisions at the collegiate level. You want to see them be very dominant. And, Mason McCormack was one of those guys when I watched the film that I thought, man, he was very dominant in his, respected division and conference that he played at the collegiate level. Now, I think as a pass blocker, he's solid. I think he needs to definitely work on it. Like I said, against even faster guys and more guys that are able to move sideline, or guys that are able to move left and right as a defensive lineman in his conference, in his division, they were able to get around him at times. But outside of that, man, very dominant run blocker. And I like what the Steelers are doing on that offensive line, man. They're getting a bunch of maulers. They're getting a bunch of big physical guys that are able to make holes, able to, out-muscle defensive linemen and just have a lot of, raw power in general. And, this Steelers team, man, they're probably going to run the ball a lot next year. I know they got Russell Wilson, but I wouldn't be surprised if they ran the ball a lot, use the running, the run to set up the heavy play action with Russell Wilson, because that is when Russell Wilson is at his best, with that heavy play action, when he's able to just turn his head, drop back, and find the, the deep post, whatever it is down there, the deep crosser. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers team next year is one of the better, running teams again next year, or literally the best. I think they have a lot of offensive linemen that are molars, a lot of guys that are able to, run block very well, and a lot of guys that are able to move guys left and right and just create big holes. So like I said, very, very good pickup for the Steelers. Mason McCormack, one of my more favorite guards in this year's draft class. His biggest knock is that he played at South Dakota State, man. But outside of that, man, just a super dominant run blocker. And, man, the Steelers, man, once again, are just killing it. Or just killed it, at the draft. That is going to do it, though, fellas. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Obviously, there's more draft steals or sleeper picks from this year's draft class. But these are just some guys that I was very high on during the draft process. And I think that are going to make a huge impact for the team as a rookie. And could find themselves starting right off the bat. But like I said, let me know what you guys think about this video. I will link that other part, the first part right above me. So go click on that if you want to. Go watch that video if you want to. It's been your boy Sports Culture. I'm out.